Thank you for staying with us. The news at 6 begins with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu set up to meet with Nigeria's service chiefs upon his return to Abuja to discuss escalating violence and killings in Plateau, Benue and other parts of the country. This comes after his 2-week working visit to Paris and London. The president arrived back in Abuja on Monday night after spending 18 days abroad. The Air Force 001 aircraft carrying him touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at 9:50 p.m. This is according to State House Media Office. The president arrived back in Abuja on Monday night after spending 18 days abroad. The Air Force 001 aircraft carrying him touched down very recently. While until the president's departure on April 2, over 120 locals have been killed by armed assailants, with homes burned and approximately 3,000 people displaced, despite the ongoing presence of security forces. In Benue, two twin assaults in Logo and Bagir have left at least 56 people dead, and the attacks have been blamed on armed headers. Multiple sources confirm that President Tinubu is deeply concerned about the worsening security situation and is scheduled to meet with the service chiefs as well as National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu to discuss the violence and outline strategies to address it. Meanwhile, the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu has restated the unwavering commitment of the federal government to tackling the persistent security crisis in Benue State and across the country. Ribadu praised the proactive steps taken by Governor Hyacinth Alia in combating the insecurity ravaging the state, while cautioning against those seeking to take advantage of the situation for selfish purposes. Speaking with journalists on Tuesday at the Benue State Government House in Makodi, Ribadu explained the purpose of his visit, which was prompted by the recent wave of violence that has led to the death of over 120 people. NSA's comment comes in the wake of growing anxiety over insecurity, not only in Benue, but throughout the North Central region. Calling for united efforts, Ribadu encouraged all parties to collaborate towards achieving enduring peace and security in the area. Meanwhile, the Niger State Governor Umar Bago, in a bid to curb the growing insecurity in Minna, the state capital, has announced a curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Now, this follows a recent surge in attacks and killings across the country. During a security meeting held at the Government House on Tuesday, Governor Bago revealed that the curfew would also restrict the movement of commercial motorcycle and tricycle operators between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. However, he clarified that medical emergencies will be exempt from the curfew. The governor also instructed district, village and ward heads to ensure proper documentation of visitors within their domains. He warned that any house found harboring suspected criminals or drug cartels will be demolished. Minna has recently seen a disturbing rise in thuggery, attacks and killings, leading to heightened fears amongst residents. Governor Bago emphasized that the state government is committed to taking decisive actions to end the violence and restore safety to the city. Unfortunately, 2 children, a 13-year-old boy named Imam and a 6-year-old girl Nazreen, have tragically lost their lives in an explosion at Abakba area, Kaduna State. The explosion happened today and it left 3 other residents injured. The blast took place near the old site of the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna, raising concerns and fear amongst local residents. While the cause of the explosion is yet to be determined, security agencies have arrived at the scene to conduct a thorough investigation. Details of the incident remain unclear at this time, but the explosion has left the community shaken, with many residents in shock and fearful for their safety. Now, a prominent lawyer and former Social Democratic presidential candidate Prince Adewale-Adebayo has come down hard on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his security chiefs, describing their handling of insecurity across the country as a product of incompetence and misplaced priorities. In an exclusive interview very recently during the celebrations of his wife's 50th birthday party, Adebayo declared that while many Nigerians remain shocked by the rising wave of killings and kidnappings, he is surprised, stating, according to him, and I quote, "What shocks me most about Nigerians is that they are shocked about Tinubu because we knew that these people don't take governance seriously," end quote. He noted that the primary duty of any president is to act as a commander-in-chief, ensuring national security, welfare, justice and development. Commenting on the controversial rule in Rivers State, Adebayo condemned the situation as a breach of Nigeria's constitution and called for a return to people-led governance. He described the crisis as a fallout of a conspiracy that broke down, adding that it was never formed in the interest of the Rivers people. The former presidential candidate didn't spare the governors either, describing them as unserious and disconnected from the responsibilities of governance. While advocating for state policing, Adebayo noted that most governors lack both the capacity and authority to manage internal security effectively. According to him, the governors are just piling around. They don't know the meaning of being a governor. They are powerless when it comes to security. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment where I'll be joined via the telephone with Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze Eluche is a political, national and social affairs commentator. He'll definitely be responding to some questions posed at him. Do kindly stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. And meanwhile, still on the world news at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Tensions in Nigeria's oil-rich River State may be subsidizing following weeks of political uncertainty and protests as President Bola Tinubu and Governor Sim Fubara engaged in quiet diplomacy that could reshape the region's leadership. According to Africa Report, President Tinubu met with Governor Fubara, who was suspended on March 18, 2025, in a private meeting last week. While the meeting took place in London shortly after Tinubu's return from Paris, and it was reportedly initiated by Governor Fubara, who has been eager to return to office since the president declared a state of emergency in Rivers State. Fubara is also reportedly open to joining the ruling All Progressives Congress to gain favor with the president, which could strengthen the APC's prospects in Rivers State. If Fubara joins the APC, it means the president's chances of winning Rivers State are much bigger. However, Fubara's estranged political godfather, Nyesom Wike, currently 7, as the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, was reportedly not part of the meeting, and it's uncomfortable with the behind-the-scenes discussions. Tinubu, though, is expected to facilitate a meeting between Fubara, Wike, and Rivers State lawmakers to address the ongoing crisis in the state. I currently have right here via the telephone Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze Eluche, good evening, and thank you for joining us on the World News at 6 this evening.
Thank you very much for the invite.
Thank you very much, Barrister Eze Eluche. Let's start off with the recent wave of insecurity going on across the country. For example, we had a recent one in Kaduna. Very, very unfortunate. Another recent killing as well in Niger State. In fact, the governor there has had to order for a dusk to dawn curfew. And an explosion rocked Kaduna community. 2 children died. A 13-year-old boy named Imam and a 6-year-old girl, Nazreen, both died from that twin explosion. About 4 others also got injured. And Nigerians are calling on the president. For example, he has returned to Nigeria. The first thing he did was to meet with the National Security Advisor and a couple of other security stalwarts to see how they can, handle the issue of insecurity currently ongoing, specifically the highlight of Benue and Plateau. Now, Barrister Eze Eluche, there is a problem here. Meeting with the NSA, is it that the NSA wanted the president to come back before they knew that they needed to do something as soon as possible, whereby we're seeing upsurge of insecurity pick up in almost every state, brazenly actually, and nothing is being said, nothing is being done? It was like they were waiting for the president to return before they do something needful.
Well, it's unfortunate that we have that kind of situation in this country. All these officers you mentioned who are now meeting with the president, they are placed there for a purpose. Ordinarily, they should be able to act and decisively in the absence of the president. Even in the absence of the president, our constitution provides for a vice president. But it's unfortunate that when this president leaves the country, governance virtually stops, because that is what it means. If he's coming back and he's having to meet with the security chief, you wonder, where was his vice all this period? So we have seen that Nigeria is like spiraling down an abyss. You omitted a very critical security breach that happened also during Easter, this last Easter, on Easter Sunday, when a procession of Christians were crushed.
Yes.
By a truck driver, deliberately crushed. Because when you have the video, it shows in Gombe State. So you now wonder, what is this country turning into? And yet, we have a country where the budget for the ministry for the defense sector is still the highest in this country. Where is all this money going to? They lack intelligence. The military almost acts on physical showmanship. Meanwhile, all over the world, there is what is called intel, the military intelligence or the security intelligence.
Exactly.
But our own seem to lack it. They just flow with the winds. They just come and commiserate, issue apologies, need to be safe and all that stuff. But in the real terms, absolutely nothing is going wrong. Nothing is being done to checkmate the insecurity situation. I do not think anything will come out of the meeting Mr. Tinubu is having with these security chiefs, because the issue, nobody is ready to address it. And we have to be very drastic about it. We have to begin to call a spade a spade. There is deliberate act to destabilize this country, and the source, this Fulani herdsmen militia. No, people keep on skirting around it. There is no reason why hundreds of thousands of Nigeria will be internally displaced persons in their own country. These herdsmen militia, who are mostly foreign, will come in, kill people, take over the lands of these people, and the government will gladly put these people in internally displaced persons camp. Why don't you get the rascal herdsmen out of their land and restore them back to their country, to their ancestral homeland? It's quite unfortunate, and this thing will only get worse because this particular president, Bola Tinubu, has not shown any inkling to tackle it. He's still thinking political. He's still trying to soft pedal apply kid's gloves. If you recollect, before he even became president, there was a time when the daughter of Olufalaye was kidnapped and killed by clearly headsmen. What Mr. Bola Tinubu asked then was, where are the cows? Did you see the cows? That was an extremely silly question, because those who were around, the victims, those who were able to escape, identified that they were attacked by Fulani herdsmen. But Mr. President then he asked, did you see the cows? He even went a notch higher to ascribe that particular incident to some other ethnic group. So why are we avoiding keeping on going around in circles rather than attack the issues? Because once you name the problem, it becomes easier to solve. As long as we keep on playing the ostrich, this problem will continue to increase, and these rascal elements will continue to have the guts to kill more and more Nigerians.
That's true. It's quite unfortunate, Barrister Eze Eluche, because just on Sunday, there was also a deadly attack in Kwara. Gunmen launched a deadly attack and they killed 17 persons in Kayama local government area on Sunday. In fact, they left 7 persons dead, including a vigilante member, while the Kwara State Police Command actually confirmed that incident, which boils down to the question, why are we having this consistent spate of insecurity in the country, and where is Vice President Kashim Shettima to debunk all of these killings by these persons, considering the fact that this crimes, most of them occurring are from, his region. That's basically his region. We've not heard him come out vehemently to say no to this crime, to say no to these deadly attacks. So are we saying that the vice president office is now moribund, or until the presidency gives him a go-ahead to address any of these things publicly before he says? Because in all of this, he's been mute. Or could it be because there are permutations out there, speculations that Kashim Shettima may not be part of the president's ticket in 2027 if off eventually when the president declares. We're wondering why the vice president is quiet over this resurgence of insecurity across the country.
Well, what would you expect a vice president who, when he was governor of Borno State, a wanted Boko Haram kingpin was seen in the government house where he was presiding over? What would you expect from this kind of vice president? What do you want him to say? You see, the reality is this. We have to begin to call a spade a spade. This particular regime is incapable of addressing these killings by the Fulani herdsmen. And it's giving them the audacity to go across the country and release and unleash mayhem on indigents. What I rather urge Nigerians is to hearken to the advice by the former chief of army staff. I think it was Danjuma. Yeah, close to Danjuma.
Yes,
who urged everybody to defend themselves. Because clearly the security architecture of this country has collapsed. We don't even know which other community will be attacked and vandalized next. And they'll do this and there will be no response from the security agencies. All you see is after the killings have taken place, you will see government officials will now visit with the plethora of security personnel. Where were these security men when the killings were going on? Are they complicit in these attacks? This is what Nigerians should be asking. But in the interim, Nigerians should find a way to defend themselves. And they should not listen. When the military or the security people say you should surrender your arms, they should first of all get these killers to surrender their arms before asking people to surrender their arms. Because the next village may be yours or mine.
Exactly. All right, Barrister Ezra Oluche, according to the Inter-Society, they have disclosed that right about now, herdsmen attacks have amounted or accounted for the death of 20,300 persons killed in the southeast, 19,000 churches burnt, 3,000 Christian schools destroyed. This is what Inter-Society is alleging, and they're Inter-Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law. Now, according to him, he's saying that it is quite shocking, the statistics on the ground across the country's 6 geopolitical regions, which have clearly shown that an estimated 40 million indigenous northern Christians have been uprooted since the July 2009 Boko Haram uprising. This displacement has escalated significantly since mid-2015 with the alleged takeover of state power resources by radical elements within the Muslim Fulani population and their Hausa allies. The group is alleging that these Christians have been forced to flee their ancestral lands to avoid being raped, abducted, murdered, or forcibly converted to radical Islamism. It added that many communities have been violently taken over, renamed, and converted into settlements stocked with arms and cattle, and that from January to April 2025 alone, Inter-Society claimed that between 1,500 and 2,000 Christians were killed in Benue, Plateau, and southern Kaduna. It said 800 to 1,000 more were likely abducted and taken to jihadist camps. So the question is, if this statistics are on ground, if nobody wants to say anything, is there an agenda, actually? We're wondering why the political elites are quiet, why those at the federal government are actually quiet. Is it that we do not have the, like you said, the the intellectual apparatus to synergize and see how they could apply whatever digital synergy in carrying out this crime, gathering intelligence, uprooting these individuals involved? And if there are backers, if they know the backers, why are they keeping mute? We've not had any prosecution. We've not had them take anyone to court. Nothing. So is there an agenda that Nigerians are not aware about? Are we sitting ducks?
Well, when you realize that without any killing taking place in Rivers State, without any vandalism or whatever taking place in Rivers State, Mr. Bola Tinubu had declared a state of emergency in that state, removed the governor and the National House of Assembly, and even placed a military administrator in that state. You now wonder why Mr. Bola Tinubu has not done the same thing for these several states like Niger State, Borno State, Kebbi State, and Zamfara State, where killings are going on nearly a daily basis, where there is ethnic cleansing of genocidal proportions taking place. Nothing has happened. It becomes quite easy to suspect that, yes, there may be political undertones to all of this. These efforts to create mayhem in the country, because, mind you, if there is this level of instability, there will be no election. That is what the Constitution provides. When the nation is in a state of war, there will be no elections. There can be 6 months and extensions intermittently for almost endlessly. So you wonder, is there a political undertone? What is stopping this government from frontally tackling these terrorists? Because this is terrorism, and people are being killed. What is stopping this government from unleashing the armory of the federal government against these characters? Rather, the same government is willing to unleash soldiers in the southeast region, put platoons on the streets, and now it has resulted in people from the southeast not willing to join the military. Because how can you join the government if it's even killing your people? I mean, so there's clearly, evidently political undertones. And I think I thank the people of Inter-Society, the NGO, for bringing out all these details, because it shows there's clearly systemic genocide going on. And this is not being tackled. It's not being talked about. The massacre of Christians, the massacre of the indigenous tribes from their lands, ethnic cleansing of people from their lands is taking place on a routine basis in Nigeria, and nobody is talking about it. We should begin to talk about it and then think of how to address it.
All right, Barrister Eze Eluche, a prominent lawyer and former Social Democratic Party presidential candidate, Prince Adewale-Adebayo, has come down hard on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his security chiefs. He's describing their handling of insecurity across the country as a product of incompetence and misplaced priorities. All right, he said that what shocks him most about Nigerians is that they are shocked about Tinubu because they knew that the people will, they thought or expected that the administration of the president will take governance seriously and that, they would take elections very serious. But rather, they took elections more serious than governance. That the primary duty of any president is to act as a commander-in-chief and to ensure national security, welfare, justice, and development. And that none of this is taking place. So who will sue the president to court? Who will take the president to court? And that if the president is immune right now because, he's a president, then who would ask him to respond to the areas where he has failed in administering properly and securing the lives of the people he vowed to protect, as he is a representative of the entire nation?
Please forget that notion that anybody will take anybody to court and take the president to court over these issues. Which court are you taking him to? Is it the court that has clearly, from the various judgments, political judgments which have been reeled out, show they've been pocketed? Is it the National Assembly which shows itself as a rubber stamp National Assembly? So the reality is this: there is always a way to address issues. When the normal parts of government that should create checks and balance have failed, the people should now strategize and find out other means of ensuring that their grievances get to the executive and that the executive acts according to the will of the people. Nigerians must begin to solidarize, must begin to congregate, and find a way to ensure that they don't keep on dying or being killed as flies on the streets, because this is going to continue. Most of the highways in this country are not passable. People get kidnapped and plucked easily by these kidnappers, and they extort money and they show it on social media, and the security agency is not able to address these issues. Rather, what they do is when they can go after people who are making phone calls or who are criticizing the government, and don't bother to spend that same efforts to also address and tackle criminality or kidnapping. So you begin to wonder, what is really the essence of this government? But I don't really blame Mr. Bola Tinubu because he knows he was not elected. He knows deep down he was not elected. That's why a president can leave his country in the middle of this kind of crisis, go and stay abroad for 2 weeks, and comes back as if nothing has happened, and tells us he's having meetings that will certainly not lead to anything positive.
All right. Well, the presidency has said that Nigeria is on a firmer path to economic recovery and prosperity under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They are citing significant gains in debt reduction, foreign reserves, investor confidence, and trade surplus in 2024. In a very detailed update which was posted on X yesterday, the senior special assistant to the president, Ortega Ogra, said the administration listed major achievements recorded within the first full year in office, describing them as a reflection of strategic leadership, prudent fiscal management, and macroeconomic reforms. According to OGRA, Nigeria's total debt stock covering external and domestic borrowings by the federal government, the 36 states and the FCT declined from $108.2 billion to $94.2 billion as of December 31, 2024, and that the administration has successfully cleared all verified foreign exchange backlogs of about $7 billion, while gross external reserves grew from $33.0 billion in 2023 under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So Nigerians now said, okay, possibly this whole statistics being rolled out is what is online, but that the gradual effect on the street is not what is being seen. But wouldn't you call this achievement as a commendable effort of this administration?
Well, coming from a government that not too long ago, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics told us that unemployment was less than 3%. Coming from a government that tells us that life is getting better, we know that all these statistics reeled out by the so-called personal assistant to the president amounts to hogwash. It's neither here nor there. They just pull your statistics reeled out to dumbfound the populace who are not discerning enough. The reality is, on the street, what is the inflation rate? Are we able to take care of our children? Are you able to pay the school fees? Do you have power supply? Are you able to export goods out of the country? If the answer to all these things is negative, then what are we talking about? Are farmers able to go to the farms because of insecurity? So you ask yourself the pertinent questions. And once you get the responses from those pertinent questions, they can go about revealing that they have gotten all the debts forgiven, that they cannot go to heaven. But on ground, on reality, this government is full of crap. And that is what they are dishing out. And we should let them know that. There's no two ways about it.
So you don't believe any of the things that were reeled out, that in actuality that's what's actually taking place? You don't believe in the statistics being reeled out?
How do you believe in them? The companies are folding up, left, right, and center. The conglomerates are leaving the country. They can't come in. The only people who are coming here to invest are mostly criminal elements from Arabia. You can't see Americans or Europeans coming in here because they know that this is not conducive for investment. At the seaports, you still have massive backlog of containers. I mean, the traffic is still incredible for the trailers coming to evacuate containers. So what are the indices? Where are they manufacturing these figures from? Because all indices that any rational person can use to gauge that the economy is getting better or the life is getting better, for this government, it amounts to nil. So they should please stop. Say what this noise they keep on turning out. When the food is cheaper for Nigerians to afford, when there's enough medical personnel in a hospital, Nigerians will know. But ever since the day one of this regime, when Mr. Bola Tinubu announced a catastrophic increase in the price of fuel, the economy, the people have been on a downward spiral. And the only person that has been actually benefiting from this whole period is Mr. Tinubu, because he travels abroad at his whim and caprice. Gets better and then comes back. After 2 weeks, he has another working visit to France, keeps on traveling. And he's telling us that the economy is improving. Which economy, for goodness sake?
Barrister Eze, thank you so much for taking your time to give us insights into some of the questions posed at you on the World News at 6. We sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Barrister Eze. We just finished speaking with Barrister Eze, who is a political, national and social affairs commentator there. And obviously you heard his own input into the questions posed at him. Now, let's go to stories outside the shores of Nigeria. Russian drones have targeted Odessa and Zaporizhia today, a day before Ukrainian, British, French and US officials meet for peace talks in London. The Kremlin has disclosed that Russia will consider a proposal from Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky to halt attacks on civilian infrastructure for 30 days, but warned that such an agreement would take time. Russian drones battered the Ukrainian port city of Odessa and glide bombs hit Zaporizhia. Local authorities disclosed and warned that negotiators are unlikely to obtain a swift breakthrough in peace talks and the war. Russian strikes wounded another 6 in the southern city of Kherson and 7 in Kharkiv in the northeast. Ukrainian, British, French, and US officials are due to meet in London tomorrow to discuss the war. Anticipation is building over whether diplomatic efforts can stop more than 3 years of fighting since Russia's full-scale invasion of its neighbor. Hostility has run deep since Russia invaded and illegally annexed Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula in 2014. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said last week that negotiations were coming to a head and insisted that neither side is playing him in his push to end the war. That came after Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggested the US might soon back away from negotiations if they don't progress. Rubio has suggested that Wednesday's meeting could be decisive in determining whether the Trump administration continues its involvement. And now, to wrap up the world news at 6, here again are the top stories. He had the president to meet NSA Ribadu service chiefs over Plateau Benue killings. NSA Ribadu pledges federal backing to Governor Aliya in fight against insecurity. Niger State imposes dusk-to-dawn curfew in Mina. Explosion rocks Kaduna community, 2 children killed. Ex-presidential candidate Adebayo calls President Tinubu a mascot of incompetence. That's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachiko. Just stay with us for the evening rush at 7. Good evening and thank you for listening.